In this day and age, you're going to have to rely heavily on drafting players and developing them because of the new
True.
CBA. So them going this route, they didn't do a whole lot free agency, but when you look at the draft, it makes sense. They drafted a forward this year, and and last year they drafted a guard slash forward. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Unfortunately, the Timberwolves ain't really done anything. They haven't done anything to address the reasons why they lost. They re-signed Julius Randle on a good contract, only $100 million, but they haven't done anything else. Honestly, they actually lost players. They lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Do they have another player another guy that's going to step up and fill in that role? I don't think so. And I'm gonna have to look at that roster. But the
Yeah,
Timberwolves, to me, they got worse. And I
yeah,
don't know what they got going on in that front office. It's not like they paying a whole bunch of people. I guess you're giving Ant and Gobert money. Nas Reed left as well, I believe.
no, Nas, they resigned Nas Reed.
You resigned him?
Yeah,
Oh,
they resigned him. They
was
gave
it
him a
to a
bunch of
lot of
money.
money?
Yeah, they gave him about 125, maybe.
Oh no. For what?
I mean, he's a good player for them. He's very
Did you
important
see
for what they want to
that?
do. I
Did you
know
see that?
he was. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, yeah. But he could switch. He's very athletic. He does a lot of things for him. He stretches the floor. I think the problem with Nas Reed is not necessarily his skill set. It's who is also on the team. It's Rudy Gobert, and he's making a bunch of money. So when you have those two guys making all that money, it becomes problematic. You can't really do much. I like the Timberwolves letting Nickeil Alexander Walker go. I'm not mad. The Timberwolves, what they're thinking is this: they're looking at the draft and they're saying, "All right, Terrence Shannon Jr. He showed some bright. He played pretty well in the playoffs in certain spots. So if he can continue to develop, we like our chances with Terrence Shannon Jr." And then they also drafted somebody else this year in the first round with, I believe it was the 17th pick. So they're looking at it from the perspective of we'll re-sign the guys that we already have, our best players, and then we'll rely on the draft picks that we have, the first round draft picks that we have, and we'll develop them. So we don't have to overspend on role players that are coming up with contracts outside of the most important players that we need, which is Nas Reed. I think Nas Reed is very, very vital for what they want to do in the Western Conference if they want to win big. And I like the Timberwolves philosophy because it makes sense. In this day and age, you're going to have to rely heavily on drafting players and developing them because of the new
True.
CBA. So them going this route, they didn't do a whole lot free agency, but when you look at the draft, it makes sense. They drafted a forward this year, and and last year they drafted a guard slash forward. So it makes sense. It makes sense. And they actually have two first round. No, actually, I take that back. They were the first team in the second round. So they had the 17th pick and the 31st pick in the 2025 draft. And they drafted two forwards,
Okay.
6'9" and 6'10".
Interesting.
So they're not short at all. Pretty tall. I don't know if they're super athletic. I don't know. Fleming and Behringer. I don't know any of these
I've heard a
dudes.
lot of people talking about Fleming.
Yeah, I haven't seen them play, but just looking at the positions and the size, I can see what they're going for. So I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. They didn't really have to do much. All they're gonna have to rely on is their scouting department and their developing department. So
True.
as long as Anthony Edwards can continue to improve, and also the guy Rob Dillingham, if he can develop as well, that's very important. Because remember, they drafted him in like the top 10.
Traded up for him too.
Yeah, from the Spurs. So he's another guy that they really need to see a lot of improvement from, and they're probably going to give him a lot of minutes this season.
Yeah.
Those three draft picks, it comes down to those three draft picks. If they hit on those three draft picks, you're going to forget about they gave big money to Rudy Gobert. They gave big money to Naz Reid. They let go and to kill Alexander Walker because those 3 draft picks hit. That's going to be the most important thing for the Minnesota Timberwolves moving forward is will they be able to develop those guys? I think Terrence Shannon Jr., I like Terrence Shannon. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be really good for them. Just seeing how he was able to produce in the playoffs is very hard for a young player, especially the 27th pick. I think this was maybe his second time. I don't recall him getting much minutes last year in the playoffs. So to see that he's getting a whole lot of minutes in the 2025 playoffs and for him to show a lot of good signs, I think he's going to continue to develop and gain more confidence. Rob Dillingham, we'll see next year. But that's really what it's going to come down to for the Timberwolves.